Good morning. My name is Indira, and I'm a student at the University of South Florida, and I would like to welcome everyone to the USF Women in Leadership and Philanthropy 2015 Symposium. And thank you for joining us for Up, Away, the Power of Mentoring. I'm honored to be able to introduce our moderator, Melanie Lenz. But before I do, I would like to tell you a little bit about my experience as a USF WLP scholarship recipient. As I mentioned, my name is Indira Ranaweera. I was born in Colombo, Sri Lanka during a civil war, and my family moved to Tampa, Florida when I was 4 years old to seek a safer and secure future. At USF, I'm a third-year biomedical science student and psychology major in the USF Honors College 7-year medical program. Interestingly enough, USF was the only college that I applied to as a high school senior because I fell in love with the school, the community, and the amazing opportunities at USF. Next year, I will be attending the USF Morsani College of Medicine with the goal of becoming an emergency physician in underserved communities, domestically and internationally. This is my third year as a WLP Esther Schneid Memorial Scholarship recipient, and I can honestly say that through the financial assistance, networking opportunities, and mentorship, WLP has been instrumental in my development throughout college. I am excited to host this panel, in particular because last year's mentorship panel inspired me to become a mentor through Big Brothers Big Sisters. Now, I would like to introduce our moderator, Melanie Lenz. Melanie Lenz is a Senior Vice President of Strategy and Development at the Tampa Bay Rays. The Tampa Bay Rays are corporate members of WLP and our sponsor for today's session. In addition to the management of capital projects for the Rays, she currently oversees the organization's key strategic initiatives, including the Rays brand extension within the television market, management of business relationships, business analytics, and long-term facilities planning. Please join me in welcoming Melanie to the stage.
Great, thank you so much. And can we give her a round of applause? I mean, holy moly, what a great way to start things off this morning. Thank you all for being here. I'm Melanie Lenz with your Tampa Bay Rays. And not only am I here as a moderator today, but on behalf of the Rays, we're a proud sponsor of this event. You know, our mission statement is to energize the community through the magic of Rays baseball. I can't think of a better place to work, a better place to be, and a better room to be in this morning. I mean, I feel like I'm already inspired, and we haven't even started yet, so it's pretty exciting. Just briefly, I'd like to ask our wonderful panelists to introduce themselves and just give us a little bit about their background, and then we'll start and hop right into the program. So, Barbara, do you want to start us off?
Absolutely. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
My name's Barbara Twine Thomas, and it's my pleasure and privilege to serve as a circuit court judge here in Hillsborough County in the 13th Judicial Circuit. Before becoming a judge, most recently in January, I practiced law for 38 years. I practiced in Florida, Georgia, United States Virgin Islands in a variety of capacities. Probably I'm well suited to be on the panel today because during the course of my career, I have been a part of a number of organizations, a large number of them women's organizations such as my sorority, Alpha Kappa Alpha, and the Hillsborough Association of Women Lawyers, a host of organizations like that I feel have significantly enhanced my development and my access to opportunities. I'm a mom of 2 boys that I raised. I'm married, and I think that's a good summary.
Excellent.
Hi, my name is Priscilla Sosa. I'm a student at USF in Sarasota. I am a major in biology and minor in psychology. I will graduate next May. I just applied to dental school, and I have interviews this month, and I would start next July.
Good luck.
Good morning, everyone. Hi, I'm Deanna Ward. I got my start very differently. I was in television for a number of years, and I had a chance to go all over the country telling awesome stories. But now my job is telling the awesome stories of Big Brothers Big Sisters. We're a mentoring organization, and we take great kids and we match them with awesome volunteers. And that's how I got my start at Big Brothers Big Sisters. I met my little sister named Charmel. She changed my life. I changed my career because of her, because I know there are other kids who need a mentor. So I think this is a great opportunity to talk about mentoring, because in many ways she mentored me, and that's why I work for Big Brothers Big Sisters. So glad to have everyone here today.
This is great, and I mean, I think that's a great segue, and maybe Priscilla, you want to start. Why is mentoring important? Why are we all sitting here today wanting to talk about this topic?
I think mentoring is important because your mentor will be able to show you skills and show them their values that they've learned throughout their course and their career, and you can always model their way. The wheel's already been invented, and I feel that we can necessarily maybe copy them or just model their way and learn from their mistakes, and then so we can be in the right direction. I currently I'm on the YMCA advisory board in Sarasota, and we mentor middle school and high school students, and we give each month a career cluster. We bring in a lawyer, we bring in a dentist that we're going to have currently in December that I'm going to be hosting. We do art, we do history, we do English, we do all these career opportunities for them to learn and experience and get to know what's available, and they can get a career and open up their perspective of learning core values and life values. And I feel that learning those things can really accomplish goals and succeed and make you succeed forward.
That's great. I think many of us in this room have probably benefited from having a mentor in our lives. And Barbara, why do you think it's important to have a mentor? And really, what's the difference between mentoring and sponsoring? And just love to hear your thoughts on that a little more.
It's important to have a mentor because a mentor can probably be one of the most valued, confident relationships you can have in your work, and a significant career enhancement. A lot of times there are personal questions we have, or sometimes not so personal, but just information we need to feel confident as we enter a room, as we enter a new work venture, as we enter all kinds of things in our work. A mentor is someone who hopefully has had experience before, and they can shepherd that process. Mm-hmm. A mentor is a valued friend, a trusted person, an advocate, a coach. And so how better to cheer you on in your career success by having a great, confident, close coach to help you get there. So that's why I think you should have a mentor in your life in different times. What's the difference in mentoring and sponsoring?
Sponsoring, yeah.
Those of you who know me know that I'm in tons of organizations and always have been. And there are lots of times in order to enter that organization, I have been sponsored by someone. And that person introduces me to the group and basically gives me my access to membership. But a sponsor is different from a mentor in my mind, in that a sponsor may introduce you to a group, help you get into a group, but a sponsor by definition doesn't necessarily become the person who remains that confident, valued coach throughout the term. And that's, to me, a mentor's in some ways more valuable. You may get access to some prestigious organizations through someone who's already a member, and they may tell you when to pay your dues and how to come to the meeting, but you may not want to necessarily reveal to them the issues that you have regarding your career, your advancement, and intimate details that you want to just share in a confident relationship. Mentoring to me is probably in a lot of ways more valuable.
Sure. I mean, I think the words that you use, value friend, trusted person, coach. So who doesn't want one of those persons in their lives? How do we go about finding that person and asking that person to be a part of our journey with us? I mean, Deanna, Priscilla, do you guys have any thoughts specifically on that?
Well, first let me talk about from the Big Brothers Big Sisters perspective. When we go out and recruit volunteers, we're like, who would be a great volunteer? We go to different corporations, we go to different events, and we tell the story of, these are great children who need a person, like you said, a trusted friend. We're not telling you to be their parent. We're not telling you to be the boss. We just want you to be that friend who connects with that child. And I think it really relates to what we do in our lives. Looking for that person who has the time and the energy to say, let me share of myself. And it's not about you just sharing as the mentor, but learning from that person. I think it really is a two-way street. It's not just the big mentor and the person. It really has to be that give and take. And I think, having that conversation with someone, like you said, looking for someone where you say, I really admire them, or how do they get there? Let me have that conversation with them, and maybe they would be willing and able and wanting to be a mentor. Making that first ask really makes a big difference.
For sure. In terms of just, making that first ask, is there, we talk about qualities that we're looking for in a mentor, and, having somebody that there's a connection there, they hopefully have the time and energy. Is leadership a big part of that? Is that a quality that we think that, mentors definitely, possess, or is something we should be looking for in a mentor? Anybody want to go ahead?
I can. I definitely think that perseverance and being driven and asking. Personally, when I went to high school, I had the opportunity to do an internship program at my high school, and so I chose to intern with a general dentist and an orthodontist. And so at these places, at these offices, I really learned to be open and be confident with my goals and my opportunities that I would like to have. And so learning from those offices and these mentors, these dentists, I then was very selective of who I could choose and ask for mentors. And so I was asking around, and I met a couple of students through the YMCA Achievers program. And there was a dentist, or a future dentist, a student that wanted to be a dentist. And so I contacted him, and he encouraged me to go see dentists that he's shadowed. So it's always great to ask other people and be open to opportunities, and go in and ask those people if I can come and intern with you, come and shadow with you, and they'll be more than willing to help. I've had the great opportunity of observing many general dentists and oral surgeons in town in Sarasota, and I feel like if you're just open and being able to have that courage to step out there is a great opportunity for you to find someone.
Barbara, what are your thoughts on that in terms of the ideal mentor, and what type of characteristics that person could possess?
I think that a mentoring relationship is a very close relationship, and so it changes from person to person. And it also may change from where you are in your career. But frequently, I think you want the person to have some degree of experience or skill that can enrich their relationship with you. And you want to have confidence and trust in the relationship. It needs to be someone that you feel you can interpersonally relate to and talk to. And so I think that leadership is important, but I think the skill, experience, and trust relationship are more critical in a mentoring relationship.
Absolutely. What do you think?
I'd love to add the word real.
Yeah.
I remember I went to school at Jackson State University, and I was really fortunate at the time. I was a senior in college, and I had an internship at the local television station. And I remember one of my mentors, one of the professors said, okay, we're giving you this internship, but you better not mess it up for everybody else. I'm like, okay, no pressure. So I'm in the newsroom, and I'm doing a little bit of everything. And this is many, many years ago. We had what we called AP wires, and we'd rip the wires and give it to the reporters and things like that. And this huge news story came down, and no one was in the newsroom. No reporters, the anchors hadn't gotten there yet. I mean, there's nobody there. And so they're looking around, who can do this story? I mean, they're looking past me, around me, and that type of thing. They finally say, okay, Deanna, go do the story. And I went out, and it was my very first live shot. And I was horrible. I mean, I'm like, hello, what are you doing? I mean, it was just the worst live shot ever. I can't talk. I'm calling the person the wrong name. It was horrible. I bombed. And I went back to the newsroom, and I'm looking like this, and I remember the anchor at the time, who was my mentor, came over to me, and she's like, that was horrible. And she didn't sugarcoat it, but she said, let me tell you how you could have done this better. And what I appreciated was, yeah, she didn't beat me up or anything like that, but she was real with me. And then she gave me some skills, or gave me some tips, but she also shared her experience of, I wasn't always this whatever it was all the time. I made those mistakes too. This is how I was able to get around it. And so I think when you look for that mentor, it's not someone that's on a pedestal. Really is a person who can be real about maybe some of the challenges they've had, and maybe give you some tips that you can navigate around so that you don't make those same mistakes. But that relationship, like you said, that interpersonal connection has to be there, because you don't want to be intimidated saying this mentor can be it all. They were you once. They went through the same type of thing, and maybe they can help you as well.
Being real, that's such a great point. And mentorship is a two-way street, because frankly, if the mentor isn't getting as much out of it as the mentee, it just doesn't work. And I know, we all work in very busy places and very busy times. How do you go about finding that mentor? And, is it, a tap on the shoulder? Is it, in your experience, how were you able to find those people and then in turn be found to have those real relationships? Barbara, do you want to?
In some instances, there have been organized mentoring relationships that I participated in. As I said, I've been a member of a number of women's organizations, and sometimes we have mentoring programs. What I think in a real textbook sense, and Deanna, you can chime in, about mentoring is that there are probably three key components. You first probably want to have someone who is going to check the background of the person in some way. If it's not in a work environment, you wouldn't want to ask that question at work.
Sure.
But if you're in an association, maybe the chamber or something of that nature, someone overseeing the mentoring program. Secondly, you want to have someone who has the ability to make a significant match. And then finally, there needs to be some oversight to monitor the relationship. So screen, match, and monitor, to me, are three key components. And I know they've done that in Big Sisters and Big Brothers before. That goes along with the mentoring relationship you may have outside of work. There are many that occur in work, and sometimes your chief or whoever's in charge might assign you someone to mentor you. And that's happened to me recently at work. But in all actuality, the person next door to me has turned out to be an excellent mentor by chance. And so I wander into his office and I ask questions all the time, and he has been truly very receptive and responsive. And so I have a formalized relationship at work, and then I have that informal relationship that has occurred because the two of us have the chemistry that allows that to happen, and by our physical proximity, it allows us to talk regularly as I need it.
Oh, that's great. Talking screen, match, and monitor, and I feel like, Deanna, this is...
They're really her words.
Right. I was like, she's reading my information of Big Brothers Big Sisters. That is how we screen our volunteers. Not everyone can or should be a mentor. Let's just be very honest about it. But if you have that passion to be a part of it, we want you. On the Big Brothers Big Sisters side, what we do is we interview every single volunteer who walks through the door. We do the background checks, of course. But when we interview them, we find out their likes and dislikes and find out a little bit about them so that we can find that child that's going to be a good match with that person. And I think that goes to exactly what you were saying. Finding that you have some commonalities. You're not looking for a person who's going to be exactly like you. What's the point of that?
Right.
But you want something that will at least spark the conversation, some kind of foundation that will allow you to be a good match. And then, back at Big Brothers Big Sisters, what we do is we monitor to see how things are going. We check in to see, do you need activities? Do you want to go to a Rays game? Do you want to do different things like that with your little? On the adult side, I think it's the same thing. You check with each other, see how things are going. In some formalized mentoring organizations through work, we even had a thing where you actually fill out a piece of paper to make sure it's on paper to say, I'm the mentor, I'm the mentee, we're committed to do this. We're going to see each other or call each other or email each other at least X amount of time. And that way there's that commitment, and maybe there is an ending point where you say, we're going to do this for a year, and then you have that expectation, and that way everyone's on the same page.
That's a great point. And so in terms of really getting the most out of the mentor relationship as both mentors and mentees, what were some of the things, how do you best foster that relationship? Some things that you all learned along the way as both a mentor and a mentee that you might be willing to share with us. I guess, Priscilla, do you want to talk a little bit about that first, or whomever would like to?
You can go ahead.
Sometimes I think having some structure to the relationship is good. And that means that you may want to have a formalized way of getting in touch with your mentor, whether it's going to be a bi-weekly meeting, whether it's going to be over lunch, whether it's going to be at least once a month, whether it's going to be at a certain organization where both of you are members. But there's got to be some type of structure so you can access the person, or an understanding that you are available to call at any time. Mm-hmm. I think that's very important. And there needs to be some type of way to measure or assess if it's being effective for you. I don't know how you do that in a work situation when you have an assigned person to you, but you do need to be candid. Deanna was saying earlier, being real, but you need to be able to be candid with your mentor to open up to them, talk with them, and have a way of regularly accessing them. If you have questions on an ongoing basis and you don't have access to the person who's mentoring you, that's not going to be an effective relationship.
To add on what she was saying, I feel like when you also have a mentor, it doesn't specifically have to mean that, like, talk about goals or, like, personal life or your career. It can also be, like, personal situations that are going on with your family, your friend, your loved one, spouse. You can talk with them if you've gotten comfortable, you have a good relationship with them. You can always ask them, what should I do with this situation? How should I handle this? Even maybe for, like, personally, I have school loans and a lot of school debts that I'm gonna have to be paying off. Which way should I approach this? I always recommend to be open with them and ask them questions, and yeah, I think so.
You know, the other thing about mentoring that hasn't been mentioned yet is that in our work, most times, and I'm sure for all of you, a lot of you, you have the substantive and professional skill to do a good job. That's really not what's at issue. But you may not know how to advance yourself. You may not know to join a certain organization. You may not know that showing up at this certain annual dinner. You may not know all of those things that come from living that enhance your career in a significant way. And so a mentor is someone who's going to hopefully introduce you to that. A mentor is someone who's going to say, that's a great luncheon to go to, or don't waste your money on that one. Those are the kinds of things that I think are important. Of course, it can relate to work as well. And if you're in a very competitive work environment, a mentor can help you make assessments regarding how you're going to make those strategic moves for your own progress. But I think those other items, as Priscilla was mentioning, are important. Sometimes I just need to know whether I should wear a skirt or slacks.
Right.
You know, and then once I have that, I can be confident again.
Absolutely.
That's absolutely
Yeah,
right.
there's no textbook, really.
Right.
Right.
You're absolutely right. And, you know, we go to school or we go to different conferences and things like that, and we write things down, but how much do we learn just from one another? You know, and I think that speaks to what you're saying. There have been times when I'm new to a particular field, or when I was moving up in my career, and I didn't know the lay of the land yet. And so I was trying to figure my way out on how to handle different things, and those different nuances that aren't in a book, that mentor can really help you with.
Absolutely. And so one of the things, there are characteristics we were talking about good, good mentors and good relationships. How about the really well-intended, but maybe not so good characteristics? Are there experiences you've had, or just situations that, you've been in that you've been able to say, oh, this probably isn't the right path for me?
I'll tell you from the Big Brothers, let me put my Big Brothers, Big Sisters hat. Like I said, not everyone can or should be a mentor. And so we have people come in and they're like, I'm gung-ho, I want to help this child out. And that's great. And then we realize that they have such high expectations that maybe this isn't the right fit for them. Or they figure that maybe this particular child should be just like them. And that's really not what mentoring is all about. And so we may help them, coach them, support them in a different way that maybe will help them realize what the mentoring relationship is. And I think it goes the same way with work. I had a mentor, and when I was going into the fundraising realm of Big Brothers Big Sisters, and that was new to me about 8 years ago. And so there was a person that I was paired with, and she was great and I was great, but we just couldn't get it together. And it wasn't because we didn't try, but because of schedules and things like that. It just wasn't a really a great mentoring relationship. And it's okay to say, maybe this isn't a good fit. And I think that takes some maturity to be able to say that this isn't working, and maybe you can help me find a different person that may be a better fit. And that's okay to say.
I feel that I personally haven't had any issues with any mentors, but I feel that you can have a wide number of mentors. It doesn't just have to be limited to one person. I personally have a dentist that's a mentor. I have Dr. Anila Jain, that's a part of WLP. She's helping me do mock interviews for my dental school interviews, and also some personal and school suggestions and mentoring. And I have my mom as a mentor for personal life and keep me going, and that's my drive. And just you can be open to as many people as you can, as a career, personal, any type of, I believe that any type of mentor can help you anyway.
I agree, Priscilla. And additionally, remember, mentoring is a term, and we may be thinking of it as a structured, formalized relationship, but there are many, many, many opportunities for mentoring that can occur informally. It can be the person that you accidentally sit with at lunch at something and realize that you have that connection, and that's someone you can talk with. That person can become someone that you can call on, have lunch with, that you can discuss things with, and become a mentor. It doesn't have to be someone within your profession. It doesn't have to be someone who is older or younger. Whatever the connection is, if it's a valued, confident, trusted dialogue, it can be effective.
And that valued, trusted dialogue, we're really talking, that's a two-way street. And it's sometimes it's a transition from being a mentee to a mentor. And so just love to hear, maybe, Barbara, we could start with you about, did you have a transition experience like that? And if so...
Well, let me share this note with you. I said I was a new judge, but I'm an old lawyer. I've been around and out of school for a long time. And what's very interesting is that when I became a judge, I learned that the Florida Supreme Court has a rule that requires that new judges are mentored. And so when I got my assignments, the chief judge told me I would have a mentor. And I have to report to the mentor, I have to sign a form. This is how the Supreme Court does things. But what's really interesting, my mentor is 12 years younger than I am, has practiced law for a less period of time, and indeed in a firm relationship was someone who came to work there and whom I offered leadership in the past. But when I got to the court, she had already been a judge for a term of 6 years, and so she really knew where the ladies' room was. She really knew what you do and what you don't, and when you're forceful and when you're not, what to worry about, and all of those kinds of things that I was sort of like so nervous I was going to pop out of my skin about. And so when she would come by my office and sit down and talk with me and say, don't worry about that, or look at this, or make sure you show up at this meeting, or did you remember at 8:30 they're having coffee with the new administrator, you need to come. So that is a very fluid real life relationship that occurred for me, somewhat by chance that it turned out to be that person of all of the other judges, but significant that it's a Supreme Court requirement. There's a true reporting requirement, and the person who's assigned is someone who's more experienced at that thing than I am, but generally younger.
That's great. And I mean, in terms of talking about the benefits of that corporate kind of structured program, is there anything about, the program that, wow, this is something that you could see that could be taken to, other places of business or other, is there something that's core about it that makes kind of what you've just experienced different than maybe other programs in the past?
I don't think it's necessarily different. I really appreciate that there's a designated person. Sometimes there are relationships you can enter into that are intimidating. And although I had practiced for a number of years and had a number of life experiences, the first day that I was to take the bench, I was so nervous I was going to pop out of my skin because I just didn't know. And so having someone that of all the other judges I knew was supposed to be my valued, confident person gave me security. And I talked to her. She came over the evening before, the weekend before, sat in my office. We went through my docket. And I didn't feel ashamed letting her know that I was that nervous because she was supposed to be my mentor. And so I think that the fact that professionally it was required in that type of position is instructive to all of us of the significance of it. Absolutely. That it is structured, that we as a team are monitored by another judge who checks with us periodically to see if we're actually talking. And so there are lots of carryovers that I think apply in other mentoring relationships, no matter what your professional area is.
I agree. In Big Brothers Big Sisters, we are a mentoring organization, and what we've tried to do, and I think these are some good tips on establishing something a little more formal, but in the fundraising area of Big Brothers Big Sisters, there weren't a lot of us. And so we were all feeling our way. And again, this was many, many years ago. And so we kind of on our own said, okay, we're going to mentor each other. And so we kind of paired up on our own. But there was a lot of value in that. And so now first I was the mentee. Now I have the chance to see these young people who are coming through in this field, or those who have been in other industries and now coming into the nonprofit arena, and I've been able to mentor them. So I think you're right. It is a lot of fluidity with the relationships. But the other thing I think that's very important is keeping that open mind and not just saying, I'm only in this category today, I'm never going to be in this category again, because you never know. Life changes and careers change. Absolutely.
Constantly. I've got 5 minutes, great. Constantly changing. And I think, we at the Raise, we have a program called Raise Women in Baseball, and there are several Raise women here today, so it's great to see you guys. And have been always talking about, boy, it would be great to have as part of this program, there's not a lot of women in baseball. There's about 23, I think, % of our workforce are women, and we're on the way high end in terms of the industry overall. And so in talking about developing an actual mentoring program, these are great takeaways for me personally today, because talking about that fluidity and having the open mind and making sure that there's maybe some structure, but availability and that personal connections, they're so important. I think that any of us, as we step away today and go back to our workplaces, keeping these things in mind about, I want to challenge you all. What are we doing for those younger people, younger professionals, or even colleagues, colleagues or people that we've, been mentees of in the past? What are we doing to support them in the workplace? It is our obligation and it is our duty, especially the women in our workplace, to support them as best we can. And so, I kind of challenge y'all today to maybe take away from this. Mentoring is exciting. It's great. There's all sorts of hair on it, and there's some complications. But really, at the end of the day, when you talk about the benefits that our 3 panelists today, have been expounding, that there are some really great opportunities for all of us to grow professionally and personally through mentoring. So I think, given that, maybe we can go ahead and open it up to some questions.
Oh, there's one there.
I was just wondering if you all had any advice for a failed sort of mentor-mentee relationship. I'm an attorney, and I had been registered through the Florida Bar. They have a program where you can mentor new law students. And I had signed up 2 years in a row, and I just signed up again, which I might regret. But each time the mentees, you reach out to them and you want to help, and they just are non-responsive, and then you feel like, well, should I be doing more, or what can I do to engage? And that's been very difficult for me, and it's disappointing. So just wondering if you have any advice.
I actually have had a similar relationship. I'm in an end of court, and I was assigned a young lawyer that I didn't know at all, and she was in a completely different area of practice. And I called many, many times, and I was told she was busy, she had a trial coming up, she couldn't meet now, she couldn't come to the end meeting. And so remember, it's a two-way street, and the person has to want to share that relationship and that dialogue. And so it's no reflection on you that it hasn't worked. And if that person doesn't feel the need to have someone outside of their office area talk with them about their work, then maybe they just don't have that need at that time. I periodically send an email, let the person know that I'm still here. Every once in a while, periodically extend an invitation to a bar luncheon or something of that nature, and see if you can strike it off from there. But the person each of you has to want to have that mentoring relationship for it to work. And if that's not present, then unfortunately that's not going to be a mentor-mentee relationship.
And I'd like to add, perhaps you could talk with those who are organizing this, because they would probably be very sad to hear that here you are wanting to do this, you have the passion to help out, and no one wants to work with you. And again, it's not personal, but maybe there's something they can do on their end to see if there may be a person who's more dedicated or has the time, because you have something of value that I think that organization would really want you to be a part of. And, you know, from Big Brothers Big Sisters, we have the same situation sometimes. The children in our program are called Littles. And so when we sign them up, we want that commitment from the child and from the parent to say, this has to be a two-way street. It can't be just the mentor doing all the heavy lifting. It really needs to be a connection. And I think this is a great example of that. I would challenge you to go back and say, hey, this has happened to me twice. What else can we do? Or do you have some other suggestions? Or maybe there's a different way to approach these young lawyers, because maybe they aren't getting the support they need on the other side too. My suggestion.
You had a question? She has a microphone.
Thank you, ladies. Deanna, for you, for some of us that do want to be involved with the Big Brothers and Sisters, what are some of the time requirements? What are some of the things that you all are looking for and the best way to get started with your organization?
Thank you for that shameless plug. Thank you. Really, we look for great volunteers who, again, have the time. We have two flavors of program. One is where you can mentor a child 1 hour a week. And for a lot of people who are very busy women, they like that program better because it's scheduled, it's at the school, you have a chance to see the child 1 hour a week, you pull them out of class. Maybe for the first half hour, you have a chance to go on the playground, and maybe the second half hour you help out with homework. But it's very structured, and a lot of business people like that program better because, again, it's something that you can put on your calendar, it's during the school year, and you have a chance to see that child during that time. And it's a school year. We ask for a school year commitment. The other program we have is a little more relaxed. We call it our community-based program. That's a chance for you to pick up the child at their home and spend about 8 hours a month doing low-cost free activities. And what we tell our volunteers, it's not about the money, it really is about the time. We know that our children may need things, and that's not why we are here. We're there to provide that mentor to that child who may otherwise not have that perspective or different things in their lives if they didn't have a mentor. So again, 8 hours a month or 1 hour a week, and we ask for at least a year to 15-month commitment. And I'll tell you, most people who get in, just like we've been talking about the mentoring panel, they get more out of it than the child does. And we had a story where a young lady, she is now getting her doctorate, and she had a big sister, and she was in high school or maybe middle school at the time, and you know, middle school years are a little challenging, and she had her big sister, and her big sister stuck with her the entire time through the ups and the downs. And now here this woman is about to get her doctorate, and she's like, I wouldn't have really made it, I wouldn't have even thought about going into higher ed had I not had that big sister. So we look for people. It's not an age thing. We have volunteers from college all the way up. One of our shining star volunteers is 72. She's an awesome volunteer, matched with a 16-year-old. I'm like, wow, that's impressive. But it really is a person who just has the time and the joy and the passion in their heart to help a child. Thank you.
Good morning, ladies. I'm Terry Morrow. I'm the CEO of My Benefit Partners. We're an outsourced human resource consulting firm. I have had the opportunity to be mentored very well throughout my career and became an entrepreneur 8 years ago. And during the last, say, 10 or 15 years, I've had the opportunity to mentor some young professionals as well, which I've thoroughly enjoyed. One of the things that I think is of great value to mentees is sharing your personal and your professional network with them and making introductions for, on their behalf to help them progress in their career path or in the path that they're looking for. Can you share some stories or some examples of how you have, opened your network up to some of the people that you've mentored? That'd be great.
I think another term for a mentor is called door opener. I hadn't mentioned that before, Terry, but you're absolutely right. And I don't know that I have any magical doors or networks, but various organizations, opportunities, I can't think right now, luncheons, dinners, activities that I participated in where I've met people. They're very significant organizations to which a number of women or people in your area might be in. And sometimes I've told a person, one young lawyer tells me she invited me to come to the Georgia Edgecombe Bar Association, which is the local association predominantly of African American attorneys. Someone came as a new lawyer, and I invited him. He ultimately became president of the group. He is now a noted leader, and whenever I go over to say hi, he says, she invited me to come. And so it wasn't a secret organization. It wasn't anything that was hidden. It was very obvious. But because I knew how working with the group could help me progress, I encouraged him. And so you may have something that's just like that for you, just another organization that you're a part of and have been a part of for a number of years. But if it has helped you, it will likely help someone else. And so I would encourage you, and Terry, that's maybe what you're talking about, to just invite someone to come and show them how it can be an enhancement for them, and then it'll take off from there.
Personally, as a mentee, I've been to several lunches with dentists and doctors, and I feel like she said, it enhances you to become something better. And you look up to these people, and you say, "Wow, I'm going to be there one day, and I can't wait." And then to give back to the community, to be a part of other organizations, and help build women, because I feel like women are going to take over the world one day, and I hope so. And I've read a study that the women are entering the dental field by 2020 is going to increase by another 10%. And so I just all women, yes, we roll.
I would add to that too. Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
I'm usually loud. So. I would add to that too. It's not just the external network; it's the internal network as well. There's so much that can happen from just bringing someone to a meeting that otherwise they may not have been invited to or had been, interested in attending, but just by bringing them there, introducing them to a new group to work with, a new set of ideas, a new set of thoughts, a new set of thinkers, that goes so far, because then the next time that topic comes up or another meeting on that subject comes up, that person is already prepared. They've already received, kind of some initial information, and there's more comfort in that room because you're already there and you're invited to be in that room by somebody that you trust and trusts you as well.
Just last point, that's a very good point. A lot of times we may not think that it's a big deal to us, because we do it all the time. We go to the luncheons and we go to the different meetings. And so there's a young lady at our organization who's in marketing. And so I'll say, "Come along." She's like, "Can I really come?" I'm like, "Absolutely." And so it kind of gave her a little more confidence. She's like, "Wow, I have a chance to go to that." But I took it for granted because I'm thinking it's just the same meeting I go to all the time. But again, that helps that mentee have a chance to see you in action, see others in action, and then they can be able to follow that path later on.
I can remember as my mentor would take me into these meetings thinking, I have no reason or absolutely should not be sitting around the table with these people. And it was the best thing that ever happened to me because it immediately made me feel comfortable and confident in ways that I never thought I could be.
Absolutely.
Let me just say that encouragement can be very empowering. Just think about it. Someone that looks at you and sees a quality in you and acknowledges that is very, very empowering for you. While the mic's moving, let me share this anecdote. I hope you've seen the movie Intern.
I haven't seen it yet.
If you haven't seen it, go see it. And it's a classic example of an older person, in effect, mentoring a younger person. And I'm not going to tell you the story because I don't want to give it away. But at first, she completely rejected the relationship. And ultimately, it became her most valued relationship. Go see the movie. It's great. You'll laugh your heart out.
I have a question. When you are on the mentee side and you're really interested in what you might be able to offer your mentor, what are ways that you can enrich from the mentee side? What can you really give back?
What I can give back when I have the opportunity to go to luncheons and going to these study clubs with the dentists, I really enjoy learning and grasping their ways and tasks that they've had, values that I've learned from them. But what I give back is I offer them if I can possibly shadow and learn their techniques and skills, and then learn in their office what values they have as a business side and as a personal life as a dentist. And I think that's it. I don't know.
Priscilla, I have a slightly different answer, and I don't know that there's any formula. I don't know that there's any need or expectation that anybody really gives anything, the mentee or the mentor. It is merely the existence of the relationship and the potential dialogue that can occur when needed. That's the nugget. That's the nugget. And it may be for some of you, and you can tell for yourself, but I don't know where you are in your professional walk. It may be that you may not need a mentor today, but 2 years from now, you may have a work crisis or an issue or a new challenge, and then that need is there. And if you have the person who can help you walk through it, that's the nugget. I think they're recording, so yes, wait for the mic.
I just want to add a comment to that because I meet with my mentor every month, and like you said with Big Brother, Big Sister, it's the mentor just gets more out of it sometimes than the mentee. So I think even the gift of that relationship itself is what you're giving back. And I look at my mentor and I'll tell her things that I struggle with, and she'll say, oh my God, I struggle with the same thing too. Let's walk together in this journey to figure out how to overcome these challenges. And I think that has been such an incredible experience to have someone walking with me. She struggles with the same thing, and I look up to her and she's saying like, hey, let's walk together. And I think that's just amazing. I think that's the gift, like you said, the gift of the relationship.
Get it.
And I just wanted to add one thing, because I actually was a young lawyer who had the pleasure and benefit of actually having Judge Thomas as a mentor, although I don't know if she realized it. But because this was a gazillion years ago, and I was young and I had joined Hall, and you were the president of Hall at the time, and I, through your leadership and your just openness and invitation and just professionalism, I then sought a seat on the board and was on the board, and just because you inspire people. And sometimes a mentor, they don't even know that they're doing it, but you are just instrumental in my young career, and I've followed you ever since because you're wonderful. So I just wanted to tell you that.
And how much did I have to pay her? I love you too, Jennifer. Thank you.
Ladies, a question for all of you. For someone who is interested in finding a mentor, or say you found that person that you're interested in asking to be your mentor, what's the best way to approach that when you don't have a structured program within your organization, or if you're not a member of an organization that has that opportunity?
Well, I'm in the asking business, so I just ask. That's just me. And it really can be as informal and formal as you, whatever the environment is. Kind of like you were saying, sometimes you may have that mentor and she doesn't know that is going on. But I think just having the real conversation, whether it's something as simple as, hey, I would love to take you out to coffee because you know what, you inspire me, and they may not even know that they are that person to you. So I think just having that real conversation, being open and honest with them, and they'll probably be flattered too.
I agree. Just extend an invitation. Start the dialogue. It doesn't have to be any more structured than that. And I've had instances of when I've just said to people, you mind if we have lunch again? And usually they'll say yes. And I'll call and say, I need to talk about this. And sometimes it might not be timed properly, and it turns out to be a quick conversation on the phone, but nonetheless, the support is very valued.
I think my colleagues' responses are great, but also asking someone also maybe if they can refer you to someone, and maybe that could also work too. Just ask. I think it's a great way.
And it's definitely, it's just ask, because that will make that person's day. I guarantee it. I mean, I feel like if you're even considering that person, already there's some sort of relationship or connection there. And so just asking, that will, I mean, I promise it'll make that person's day. There's nothing more rewarding than, I think, somebody coming to you and saying, hey, you did this. How can you help me do this? It's just, I don't know, it's just pretty incredible feeling.
Good morning. Today's workforce, a large portion of today's workforce is a virtual workforce. And many people in this room are challenged with the fact that they have team members scattered throughout the world, perhaps. And do you see anything new on the horizon from your traditional experiences with mentoring that may be transitioned to help people mentor with our non-traditional workforce?
I'll speak to that. We just had a meeting. We had our staff retreat yesterday, and we were talking about this new Office 365. I don't know if anybody's on that. I don't really understand it, but now we'll be able to connect via Skype. And I used to be old school. I'm like, I have to see someone in person. But that's not the world we're in anymore. And so I think there are some great opportunities to have a mentoring conversation and really see it grow through technology, because we need that. You know, and all the time we cannot be in a room talking face to face, but we still need that connection. So I think that's going to change. We even had a program through Big Brothers Big Sisters through IBM, which was mentoring. And so the mentor would mentor the child through technology. And it was very different, and it's kind of a shift from what we normally do, but it met those team members the way they needed to be met. You know, because again, not everyone can be in a room and have that conversation. So I think that is going to be the trend. And even with our offices, we have 7 counties that we cover now. And so it's Hillsborough, Polk, Pasco, Citrus, Hernando, and Sumter. And I can't be in every place all the time. So we're looking at ways that we can have that technology so that we can make sure everyone feels connected. I think that's going to continue with mentoring as well.
I don't know of anything that's organized, but I think something like this USF Women in Leadership and Philanthropy is an excellent example of how organizations are creating opportunities for us to meet other people that have similar interest. And it's an organization just like the Hillsborough Association for Women Lawyers or whatever, but through this, it's clearly focused on women, their leadership opportunities. And so it may not be someone in your career path, but it may well be a window in an organization like this where you can meet someone who will give you the feedback that nurtures and enhances your development.
And I do think it's important to note, you know, as the workforce is getting younger and as we are experiencing these, you know, kind of opportunities or challenges, the way we communicate with our mentors or mentees can also be different. You know, it's great to have a lunch, but, you know, a text exchange, whereas, you know, 10 years ago, we'd have thought that was crazy, is equally as meaningful. And so just being open to those possibilities of, it's not, you know, it may not be a traditional mentor-mentee relationship, but ways to communicate, I think, you know, break down barriers of space, but also kind of break down barriers of generation as well.
Personal example, my little sister, whom I spoke about earlier, Charmel, I met her when she was 7 years old, and at the time, she couldn't read. I remember the first time we went out, we went to the library, and I told her to pick out a book, and I would pick out a book, and the book she picked out had pictures. And that's when I realized this little girl could not read. And so we would spend time together. We would drive down the street, and I'd say, Charmel, what's that street sign say? Or we'd go to the grocery store, what does that say? And so all of a sudden, she started to become more confident. And so when I talk about her being in college now, it really is an amazing feat. She's the first in her family to graduate from high school without having a child. She's the very first person in the family to go to college. Yes, she is a USF Bull. But one of the things that I had to adjust to through our mentoring relationship is she communicates way differently than I do. And so I'm the pick up the phone, that type of thing, and she's the texter, and it drives me nuts. But that's how she communicates with me. So I had to kind of change my expectation a little bit. She will text me really quickly and say, hey, I'm struggling with this particular class. What should I do? And I really want to pick up the phone and call her. So we may exchange a little bit, then we'll have that conversation. But it really took me a little time to see that maybe this is how we're going to communicate. I'm still mentoring her. She's, she's no longer in the program, but we still have that mentoring relationship, and I had to kind of change my expectation.
One final question.
We hope you guys enjoyed today's session. Please give these women another round of applause.